I think about, man, I have to perform songs every single night or every other night.
At 39, Bruno Mars finally broke his silence, and what he said stunned everyone. For years, people only saw the performer, the guy in the gold tux, lighting up arenas with a smile that could melt steel. But behind that glitter, there was a man carrying stories too heavy for even the brightest lights to hide. "I think about it, man," he said. "I have to perform songs every single night, or every other night." That one line hit differently because this time, Bruno wasn't talking about fame. He was talking about survival. Before the Super Bowl halftime shows, before the Grammys and the billion-dollar hits, Bruno was just a kid named Peter Jean Hernandez, growing up in Honolulu, Hawaii. By age 4, while most kids were still learning how to tie their shoes, Bruno was already doing 2 shows a night, 5 days a week. His family ran a local music act in Waikiki, and little Bruno was the star attraction. Dressed in a tiny glitter jumpsuit, he earned the nickname Little Elvis because he could mimic Presley's every move. He was so good that at just 5, he performed at the Aloha Bowl in front of 40,000 people. At 6, he was on the Arsenio Hall show. And by 10, he'd already performed nearly 1,000 shows. That kind of start doesn't just teach you talent, it teaches you hunger. But that childhood dream crashed fast. When Bruno was 12, his parents divorced, and the family act fell apart. Suddenly, the lights went out, literally. Bruno, his dad, and his brother were sleeping in a yellow Cadillac, on rooftops, and once, even inside an abandoned bird zoo. There were nights when peacocks screamed around them, and mornings when they'd sneak into hotel pools just to shower. Dinner was usually Spam musubi from 7-Eleven. For 5 months, they didn't even have electricity. Bruno would sit under the moonlight practicing his guitar because they couldn't afford amps. The same kid who once performed for thousands was now being teased at school for wearing thrift store clothes. But even in that darkness, he never gave up. At 15, he was making $75 a night impersonating Michael Jackson just to pay for bus fare and demo tapes. That determination carried him to Los Angeles at 18. He landed with $600, 3 demo CDs, and a dream. He bounced between tiny apartments and motels, sometimes sharing one room with 6 other people. He even lied his way into a DJ job once, got fired 2 days later, but made enough to keep his phone running. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept the dream alive. When Motown finally gave him a deal in 2004, he thought his big break had come. But 9 months later, they dropped him without releasing a single song. Most people would have packed up and gone home, but not Bruno. That failure introduced him to Philip Lawrence, and the two began writing songs in the backseat of a beat-up Toyota Corolla. They called themselves the Smeezingtons. For years, they wrote for others, studying over 1,000 hit songs before even releasing one of their own. Then it happened. They wrote the hook for Flo Rida's Right Round, and it blew up. Next came Nothing on You with B.O.B., and that one cemented Bruno's name in pop history. When Just the Way You Are dropped in 2010, it was like the world had been waiting for him all along. The song went #1, sold millions, and turned Bruno into a global phenomenon. But it wasn't luck. It was years of heartbreak, hustle, and sleeping under neon skies that built that moment. The hits kept coming: Grenade, Locked Out of Heaven, Uptown Funk, 24K Magic. Each one a snapshot of his evolution, from street performer to pop legend. Yet, even as his music conquered the charts, Bruno carried the same raw fire that once kept him warm in that abandoned zoo. But behind the smiles and sharp suits, things weren't perfect. Bruno's longtime girlfriend, Jessica Caban, had been by his side for more than a decade. She'd stood by him through every tour, every award, every sleepless night. But by late 2024, fans started noticing the cracks. Jessica's anniversary posts disappeared. Bruno showed up to Tokyo alone. And when someone asked Jessica if they'd split, her answer, "I'll always celebrate and be happy for all of his continued achievements," hit like a farewell letter disguised as grace. She didn't confirm the breakup, and neither did he. But the silence between them said enough. Then came the headline that changed everything. Bruno Mars owes $50 million to MGM Resorts. The internet caught fire. Rumors claimed he'd gambled away fortunes in Vegas and was working off his debt through his residency shows. Talk shows had a field day with it. Social media made it worse, painting him as a fallen king trapped under casino lights. The hashtag Bruno broke started trending within hours. But MGM Resorts shut the story down fast. They told Forbes there was no debt, just mutual respect and a solid partnership. Still, the rumor stuck. It was just too juicy. Bruno Mars, the man who sang about riches, secretly in debt? It spread like wildfire. Bruno could have gone quiet, but instead, he leaned in with humor. On stage in Vegas, he told the crowd, "Ever since they said I'm on the hook for 50 mil, my phone's been dry. Where my friends at when I'm up?" The crowd exploded. That clip went viral overnight. He even joked on Instagram, posting, "Keep streaming. I'll be out of debt in no time." That's the thing about Bruno. He never lets the storm own him. Every rumor, every heartbreak, every late-night headline, he turns it into rhythm. And maybe that's why, at 39, he finally decided to share it all. The childhood trauma, the addiction that nearly ruined him, and the secret battles that fame can't hide. Because Bruno Mars isn't just a performer. He's a survivor. The kid who once played for tourists in Waikiki grew into a man who could make the whole world dance and cry in the same song. So when he says he thinks about having to perform every single night, it's not exhaustion talking. It's gratitude. It's him remembering the nights he had no stage, no lights, and no home. And maybe that's the real story Bruno Mars confirmed. Not the rumors about debt or love, but the truth about what it costs to shine this bright for this long in a world that's